Welcome to the Serve Campus podcast, a resource for campus ministry workers across Canada. We provide education, resourcing, and coaching for people leading ministries on post-secondary campuses. Our goal is to encourage and resource you in your vital work on universities, colleges, institutes, wherever you are. And now, here is your host, John Engels.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to our show. I'm John Engels, and I hope our time together will really help you think creatively about serving and enriching your campus ministry among students, faculties, and staff on post-secondary campuses. Our Serve Campus Network name is rooted in Mark 10:45. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. The idea of serving is not just a slogan to us, but flows out of our vision to build Jesus-focused campus communities across Canada. Our question for those who are listening today is, how can we help serve you better to engage your campus? We hope this podcast can really help answer that question in some small way for you today. Well, it's great to have a friend with us today from the Maritimes, Jordan Cameron. And she is the former campus pastor for EvenSong, a church-based campus ministry at Dalhousie University in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And Jordan was also a lead member of our Serve Campus Network guiding group. So welcome, Jordan. It's great to have you. Great to see you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Jordan, it's been a few months actually since you left us. No accusation there, but we do miss you. And you know, we've just really enjoyed our time with you over the past year and a half. And then it was in January that you decided to take a little bit of a new direction with the Lord. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's been like, transitioning from what you've been doing into the marketplace role that you're in now?
Yeah, well, originally when I moved to Nova Scotia, it was actually to pursue my studies in dental hygiene. So that was almost 10 years ago. And from that, I went from a dental hygienist, and then I morphed into a bivocational youth pastor, then campus ministry pastor / connections pastor. And now I am working at a social media marketing agency as a customer success or project manager there. So that's really fun. And, you know, I've taken a lot of swerves in the last 10 years, but I've really enjoyed where I ended up here now. And I still am kind of involved in EvenSong and campus ministry in some sense, doing chaplaincy still, and kind of speaking to the EvenSong process as we go. But yeah, I really am enjoying my new path for right now. It's kind of cool. I work for a company called Monkedia, and they brought me on as a project manager, but really they brought me on as a project manager to support our faith-based clients. So it's kind of nice to have that sprinkled in there too, even though it's in the marketplace. So I'm enjoying that for now.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Well, thanks so much again for taking time in your evening, I guess, there, 4-hour difference. And for us on the Pacific coast here, it's only 3 p.m.
The day is young.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about how it was that you came to start in this role as a chaplain at Dalhousie.
Yeah, so the chaplaincy and the campus ministry pastoring kind of go hand in hand in my instance. But so EvenSong started about probably like 6 years ago, which is the campus ministry or the campus church. And at that time, it was with Paul Kosla. He was the lead pastor of EvenSong at that time, and he became the coordinating chaplain for Dalhousie's multi-faith services. And so he did that for a couple of years, and I was kind of on the team for EvenSong. And then Paul ended up moving away, and he had kind of, you know, produced so much influence within Dal and multi-faith services. But when he left, he actually just recommended let I take over his position as coordinator. And they must have liked what he was doing there, and because they just went with his recommendation, barely even knowing me. And then I got to slide into that role there. So I had been doing that for about 3 years until I switched over. I am still a chaplain there. I'm just an associate chaplain now. I gave up the role as the coordinating chaplain, but still kind of in that a little bit. But I've been doing that for about 3 years.
Okay, great. So how did you actually feel this calling into doing campus ministry?
It just kind of happened, actually. Like, honestly, campus ministry for me was not something I even realized was like a sector of ministry growing up, or even when I was in university. I wasn't super involved in any clubs or anything during my time at university, but Faith City Church, who is the sending church of EvenSong, they're just a church who really likes to try things. We fail a lot and we succeed a lot. Like, we just keep trying things. And, that was one of the things that Paul and his team of leaders, we were like, we're going to try something. And we tried it, and it came to be, and it worked. And then I kind of was just doing whatever God had put in front of me. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so called to campus ministry at the time. But then once I got into it, once I started meeting people, seeing people, and kind of understanding the needs of university students in that age group, then I truly began to be passionate about it and see the need to be stepping on that campus. But it really evolved quite organically.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the particular way that EvenSong does ministry is unique within our 5 kind of full model that we have for doing ministries on campus. And yours is a church-based, right? And it's unique as it reaches out to the campus. Was it Sunday nights that you guys meet on?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what that looks like on Sunday nights, and what does church-based ministry, look like in difference to maybe some of the other models that we have, like Campus Club or.
Yeah. So EvenSong, when it started, it didn't start as campus ministry at all. It looked a lot different than it does today. And it was originally a worship night for young adults in the city of Halifax. So once a month, we would just meet together, and we would just kind of gather people around the same age together and just have a nice night of worship. And that was it. And then we decided, okay, this is working, but like, we're not really reaching anyone new. So we were like, let's change our location every once in a while. So each month we change our location. So we'd do it at Faith City Church 1 week, and then 1 month. Then the next month we'd go to a theater downtown. It was called Spats Theater. And then the next month we'd go to Dow. And then so we tried that for a couple months. We're like, what's working, what's not working? And what we found was the place that we were actually reaching the most people who didn't know Jesus, who had no relationship with him, or who were the most curious about him, was at Dallas campus. So that's kind of how it came to be. And it's a church-based campus ministry. And I always kind of like frame it as like, Faith City Church sent us there. Like, they support us, they resource us, and that's how it started. And it kind of started from a faith, or from a church, just kind of experimenting of how are we going to reach our city. And we're in a city with multiple universities, so that's just kind of how it came to be in that sense. But what church-based campus ministry means from my perspective is, when we started out, we were fully supported by Faith City Church. And so what that meant was all of our resources, our like instruments, supplies, tech stuff, that all came from Faith City Church. And all of our lead team at the beginning was volunteers from Faith City Church as well. And, they provided our transportation down to the university, and just kind of everything stemmed from there at the beginning. And as it went on, different things, we kind of ended up with our own resources and that kind of thing. It started to break off a little bit more, and we were kind of more self-sufficient. But that's what church-based really meant, was they kind of were like, hey, we have resources here. We're going to give them to you. You guys go and figure it out.
That's really cool. What does your relationship with the university look like as a campus, as a church-based campus ministry? What does that look like with the administration?
Yeah. So again, in our case, it was kind of a little bit helpful that Paul and then myself were chaplains, because really from that lens, we're part of a department in the university. So we have an inside look of what's going on. So through that role, it's really neat because you see what the actual practical needs, spiritual needs, health needs of students are from within the university. And therefore, we kind of have that information, and then we can speak to those things as EvenSong, as the campus church. So, the chaplaincy and the campus church are truly fully separate, but we had kind of like a little bit of an inside scoop because of the chaplaincy. So our relationship is very good with the university. Because we're not a club, we kind of are, we rent a space as a third party and we go down there, but because they know some of our faces, it's a very good relationship. And if there is anything that comes up, then it's just kind of a conversation, and then we fix it, and then it's kind of done like that. So we were really blessed in that sense of we had that relationship before. But if we didn't, I would say, like, from my experience, is like just looking at the university context that you're in and trying to find ways to meet needs. Like, I think the way that Paul ended up being a chaplain originally at EvenSong or at Dalhousie was one of the departments was desperate to get a bunch of turkeys to put on a Thanksgiving dinner for international students. And he heard that and he was like, okay, Faith, can we give them 10 turkeys? And Faith was like, yep, absolutely. And then they just loved him from that point on. So it's just kind of like, just not, I've used the term before, but like not helicoptering in, like, okay, we're going to come, we have a plan, we know what the needs are, we know all of these things, and we're going to do it. But no, like really getting in there, getting to know the university, getting to know the people, the students, the staff, the faculty, all of it, and just kind of actually just trying to speak to the needs that they have.
I love that. It just speaks of serving again, which is so much a part of our DNA. And I can think of churches that have tried to helicopter in and parachute in out of without any kind of real relationship to the campus, and it just didn't work. There wasn't something tangible there that really the university said, that's going to serve us well. And so I love the fact that, hey, 10 turkeys served Dalhousie University well. I mean, that's just genius. That's awesome. And it's not rocket science, right? And,
right, exactly.
Yeah. And so for anybody listening, I guess, what would you say in terms of how, you can't overstate that importance of serving the campus. So, what would you say to those who might be thinking about doing a church-based outreach to a campus? Are there some ways that they can really start building relationship? Maybe they don't have a chaplain like you did there, but is there some avenues that they can think about in terms of connecting to the campus, starting the journey, I guess?
Yeah, I would say the first thing I would do is literally just the practical needs, like doing a food drive for the university's. We call it Feed Dal. I can't remember the name of what it is, but you bring a bunch of food and then the students can come and like almost shop for free there. We would always just kind of bring in mass gifts of those things to the different departments or different sections of the university, doing stuff like that. And also, if there's other campus ministries on the campus, that might be an easy way to start, of like, okay, well, what you guys are already established here, what have you seen? What have you seen that actually meets the needs of the students here? And just asking questions, not being afraid to go on the campus and kind of explore and meet people, build relationships, and just kind of go from there.
That's good. Are there any kind of ways that EvenSong has done that, engaging the campus maybe in different creative ways? You mentioned, early on the turkeys, but has there been other ways that you guys have made inroads to the campus?
Yeah. So a lot of it, so sometimes we would just kind of like hand out things to students. So we'd put little care packages together and just stand on the freezing cold sidewalk in the middle of winter and give them hot chocolate and some treats and just kind of be a presence there. Well, not even handing them anything, not even saying anything, not even necessarily inviting them or encouraging them to go to EvenSong, but just be a presence. I find that's an important aspect of campus ministry, is not kind of going in with any sort of agenda, but just being organic, building relationships. I would say that is the key thing. One thing I learned kind of early on in my ministry was, it was from, again, Paul Kosla. He would always say, Jesus had his 12 disciples, but he really had his 3. Like, he had these 12 people that he was leading and mentoring and walking with, but he had 3 kind of really close intimate ones, Peter, James, and John, who were just, he invited into the vulnerable moments, the really big moments, the more intimate moments of his life. And so he would always say, well, who's your three? Name your three. Who are your three? Like, you got to have names. And so that's kind of what I've done in ministry all along the years, is just making sure I have three, but making sure my three have three as well. And I think that's a huge thing on campus ministry as well, is because it's about relationships. So even if these three aren't devoted Christians who you're trying to disciple and bring up and like strengthen their faith, but even if you have three people who you intentionally get together with, maybe one of them's curious, maybe one of them is sold out on Jesus and just needs a little bit more relationship or mentorship, whatever it may be, but just have three people who you're intentionally like, if I have relationship with them in some regard, that could get them closer to Jesus. So have your three.
That's great. I'm sure there's been tons of students that have been, impacted and transformed by Jesus and the gospel there at Dalhousie. Are there any stories that come to mind that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and there is plenty of different stories, but there's one in particular. It's been replicated a couple of different times in different ways, and her name is Miranda. I'll say it; she wouldn't care if I said it, but and I really particularly like her story because you see how lots of people were a part of it. So Miranda moved in with a person she didn't know for university, as many people do. They're trying to save money, so they move in a house full of people. So she moved in with someone who attended EvenSong, and for 2 years, that person would invite her to EvenSong, invite her every week. Do you want to come? No? Okay. And then she eventually, after 2 years, she finally came once. And then at the door, Miranda met someone and she just connected with her. They chatted. Then the next week, same thing. Then the next week, the door greeter said, hey, do you want to actually go out for coffee this week? Let's meet together. That relationship started. And then Miranda kept coming. And then one night someone was preaching and they said something that resonated with her, and she didn't really know what to do with that. She was kind of feeling like she needed to respond to it, but didn't know how. And then by the grace of God, the Spirit stirred in someone, said, go over and pray for her. And so someone went over and prayed for her. In that moment, she gave her life to Jesus. And I had the privilege like a year ago to baptize her. So you just see all of these people taking different roles in someone coming to know the Lord. So I think that's a huge thing. That's like the stories that I love the most is, everybody else brings their own gifts and strengths. And, Jesus says, go and make disciples of all nations. He tells us what to do, to go, where to go to all nations, but he doesn't really get too specific on the how. And I believe that everybody's how is a little bit different, and we need everybody to input how they would do it and input their gifts and their strengths into that to reach more people.
Yeah, that's great. What a great story. I love that. So before you left Jordan, COVID hit. And how did that impact EvenSong?
Well, we had a lot of the go at that time, actually. We were looking forward to, as EvenSong grew, we'd constantly just be adding different things. We went from just a service to small groups, then to serving, then to all kinds of different things. And we were really excited that we were going to have a ministry team come in from the States. They were called Carry the Love. And then we had a retreat booked that was going to be away out of town. We were going to take 35 people out of town and just kind of have a little bit, we would call it an EvenSong advance. We were going to just spend some time in the Word and with each other and figure out where we're going next for EvenSong and all this really cool stuff that we were going to do. And just, of course, as everyone else experienced it, it just got totally shut down. So we had to swerve. So we were doing in-person services at Dal, of course, and we went to online services. So we would stream online. And we're still doing that right now, actually. During the pandemic, of course, people couldn't gather together to watch it, but now people are able to gather together. But our transition to kind of like during the pandemic, EvenSong was good, and it was pretty. I'm not going to say easy because it wasn't easy, but I will say because we were a church-based ministry, it was easier than some other of my friends that I know who are in campus ministry because we had another place. A lot of campus ministries, they couldn't meet on their campus anymore, but we could meet at Faith. We had a building, we had the setup, we had all the technology there to just be able to record our services. So I will say church-based ministry in that sense is really great because you kind of have you have other people resourcing you and backing you up and supporting you. So it wasn't just like we were lost in the wind, we didn't know what to do, but we had other people who had to, Faith had to do it for their church too. So they were like, okay, well, we're going to do it for EvenSong as well. So we did online services, and then we would do weekly prayer calls. We would do weekly, or maybe not weekly, but we would do a lot of just kind of games nights online, everything online, doing different studies, book studies, just trying to think of anything, whatever people might be interested in. We were just going to be a presence there. So we did that throughout the summer, and then we kind of established a rhythm for the fall. Let make sense now. Let we kind of, figured out what works and what doesn't work over the summer.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I never really think about the importance of a church in the midst of a time where, if you're a campus club, you might be hooped. You have to go find a church, maybe, and it's like, oh man, they're not available. We have to go find another church maybe to connect with. And also, I know campus clubs that would meet in the church parking lot, because they couldn't meet on campus. So
yeah,
there are advantages, I think, to the model, the church-based model in that level in terms of resources and emergency services, we'll call it. Can you think of any other kinds of advantages that would a church-based ministry have? Let's say, as opposed to a club. Now, you guys are not a club. You said that, but. What are the advantages of you not being a club on the campus?
I would say one of them for sure is, like I mentioned a bit earlier, is to start out, we had a lot of volunteers because it was from the church. So a club, you have to have a certain amount of student leaders kind of thing, but you're really like pulling from this big oasis of the university to kind of try to get the word out like you're there as a club. Where with the church, we had some people who were just jazzed about it. They were super excited to get started. Like it was very missional, and people got behind that. And it's a little bit dramatic to say this way, but like EvenSong is truly like the joy of Faith City Church. Like everyone is behind it, and we have people of all generations. We have youth who come out some week. When we started out, we used to have kind of like middle-aged seniors, every age would come just to support us, and they were really excited about what we were doing because it aligned with the mission of Faith City Church. It was just go and reach Halifax for Jesus. But so we had the backing of people, even just moral support. You have the physical support, you have the resources, but you have the support of the sending church and the sending congregation just being like, yeah, go get it. But I would say that's a big thing, is like, even if you don't have someone who can do worship or sound or whatever for EvenSong that week, you have a church where you can be like, hey guys, we're doing this thing on Dalhousie's campus. You know about it because we talk about it a lot and we love it. But like, could you help us out this week? It's not as hard to kind of keep the momentum going when you have people that you can pull from in other areas.
Yeah, Jordan, what would you say is the most important aspects of launching a church-based ministry?
I would say something that I have found really important and valuable in my experience was we really had a church that was behind us. If you're going into church ministry, you want to be asking the questions at the front end of church-based ministry of, okay, I'm partnering with this church. What is their mission? What is their vision? What are their values? Do ours align with theirs, or can you kind of foresee there could be some conflict with that later down the road? So just having very open communication of like, asking the church, well, what do you think this should be? Because this is what we believe, on the side of the campus ministry. This is what we believe it's going to be, or it's going to turn into. And just having very transparent conversations if you're on the same page, because you can have those conversations along the way, and you absolutely should. Having check-ins, regular check-ins, that's another thing I would say. But it would be a lot easier if you make sure you're on the same page at the get-go and kind of determine what kind of empowerment that church is going to give you as the campus ministry leader or participant. Like, is it we want you to do this and go execute it, or is it we want to reach the campus, go figure out how to do it? It might not be the extreme of either of those, but somewhere in between. But I think you really want to have the conversations beforehand to see what that relationship's going to be like.
That's great, Jordan. And tell us, what was your vision while you were on the lead team with us, and what was your vision for the Maritimes?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, at EvenSong, we would always say music, Bible, and connection. So worshiping God through music, hearing what he has to say through his word, and connecting with him and with others. And that's been kind of our little slogan from the get-go. And of course, that has evolved over time. And really now what it is, it's viewing the university campuses as cities and go reach our city. So that would be my hope for the Maritimes. And I know there's different things getting off the ground across the Maritimes over the next year or so, what I am excited about. But that's my hope for the Maritimes, is that, you know, if there's churches around, and it doesn't just have to be church-based, but if we're talking church-based in this context, if there's churches that are around a university campus in the Maritimes, just go and see what you can do. Just go and show up on campus and walk around one day, pray, you know, walk around and pray. Maybe God will lead you to what you can do on that campus. Maybe it's not a campus church. Maybe you don't have the resources to bring all kinds of equipment down and put on a full service, but maybe you can start a club, or maybe you can help out their food bank. Maybe you can buy them some turkeys, whatever it may be. But if there is a university campus around you, just engage with it, because, you know, we know there's so many different needs on university campuses, and there's so many different people. And kind of my vision for EvenSong, and it still is the vision for EvenSong, and the people who are leading EvenSong right now are carrying it, and they have a new person coming on shortly who he just gets it. And it's recognizing, if we meet students where they are at their point of need in their time of studies, then they're going to go back to wherever they're from, or a new city, or wherever around the world. We have no idea how wide this reaches. They're going to be a catalyst for the gospel everywhere. So we have these couple of years with them. So don't waste this opportunity if you're nearby to get on campus.
Awesome. And I know that your district leadership is totally behind the vision to reach the campuses. I'm excited for what's stirring in the district there. And I'm just looking forward to what God is going to do. Well, Jordan, it's been such a pleasure to see you and speak with you. Thank you for sharing your heart with us today. And if anyone at all is interested in following up, we'll have some contact information in our show notes at the end. And our next episode is going to be with our friend Kelly Johnson, who's a chaplain at the University of Calgary. And so we're looking forward to chatting with him next time. Well, that's all for today, folks, and have a wonderful week ahead, and God bless each one of you.